Welcome back to another chronically online girl video that was giving too much Jeffree Star, and I'm a little scared of myself. You may have thought that you saw the last of me after I got the absolute shit roasted out of me on Twitter for my chronically online girl titles and videos and whatnot. I'm back, I'm better, and most importantly, I'm more annoying. Quickly, before we get started into this video, I did want to say a big thank you to today's sponsor. Thank you so much, Bessa, for sponsoring today's video. Mamma mia, somebody cooks here, and that somebody is Bessa and I. Okay, both of us. My besties at Bessa and I are sending out free vibrators and gift cards for vibrators to everyone who signs up to my giveaway. Like, we are very well fed here, okay? Bessa is a bi-woman company for all things sexual wellness. Bessa's mission is to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. First of all, how discreet. Oh my. This is called a Pebble. That's the cutest name in the entire world. Suction and vibration controlled independently. Ergonomically built to fit in the palm of your hand. Wow. And no annoying pattern modes. Oh, the air vibes. I got these packages sent to my house. My mom accidentally opened my packages. She saw this. She's like, oh, air vibe. Looks like headphones. Anyway, dual stimulation, G-spot, and clit stimulation. Waterproof, rechargeable, silent, but deadly. Like, and look how discreet. Oh my God. Oh. Sorry, I gotta go to my shift. Sorry. Oh, bye guys, bye. As much as the packaging is great because of the discreetness, I also love it because you can literally charge it while in the case. Hello. And rechargeable also means no batteries, which is like, we all know that's the most annoying part, okay? The toy that does it all. Suctions, vibrates, and thumps. The silicone is very soft. Everything is just very soft and luxurious. Anyway, if you want to get free toys or free gift cards for toys, make sure to check out the link that is in my description. Thank you so much, Bessa. Thank you. Part of being a chronically online girl is that you are chronically online, me, which means that all of the information that I am getting from something is the internet. Meaning everything about Gypsy Rose that I have learned about has been on the internet and also has been against my will. Joking, I actually wanted to learn more about this. But if you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, you're taking a social media break after the new year, I don't know. Gypsy Rose is released from prison 2 years early. She's on parole. Great, awesome, good for her. This video is not talking about what her and Nick Godejohn did to her mom. This is not talking about the murder. This is not talking about the case. Gypsy Rose has told her story so many times, and there are so many places that you can get that story if you would like it. What I'm more interested in talking about and actually like exploring a little bit is her life after prison. And it's literally only been like 2.5 weeks. However, a lot has happened since then. The way that the internet has perceived her has been so insane.
Whose idea was it to kill your mother?
Mine.
I think the way that she's being marketed and also used right now is very wild to see.
And the D is fire.
Probably one of the first times that we've seen it to this extent of someone who has gone to prison and been like, ta-da, here I am. And that's ultimately what I want to explore today. I want to talk about Gypsy Rose's life since being released from prison, the public's perception of her, the internet's perception of her, and how she kind of sort of became an influencer overnight.
Hey everybody!
I'm not a true crime YouTuber. I've literally made a video talking against true crime videos in the past. Like, how hypocritical would that be if I'm like, so this is what she did to her mom? I don't believe in taking advantage and exploiting the stories of victims. Like I said, if you want to learn about Gypsy stories, there is a plethora of ways to learn about it, including her Lifetime documentary, which just came out now, called The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose, which I did watch. Gypsy Rose was released on December 28th, 2023. She was released on good behavior. She talked about in the documentary how she assumed that she was going to go into this parole hearing and they were going to ask her to like recount all of the crime again, but they really just asked her about life with her mom. And she ultimately said that she has learned from her mistakes. She realized that she made a huge mistake, that she regrets it. She feels like she has rehabilitated since then. She has learned a lot about herself, has been through therapy, has taken classes, and that she is fit to go back into society. And keeping her in prison for another 2 years just simply is not worth it. And if you're not aware, important context to note is that her ex-boyfriend, Nick Godejohn, is actually in prison for life. So when Gypsy got released, I saw so much stuff on TikTok. Oh my God, people were camping outside of her prison, hoping to catch her. Gypsy had to have like a secret way to leave the prison at 3 in the morning so that it was the safest possible way for her because media was waiting for her and fans were like staking out front of the prison. Crazy. And those last few days of December were absolutely wild. People were losing their mind. Oh my God, Gypsy Rose wants to go to a Chiefs game because Gypsy Rose wants the chance to meet Taylor Swift because she's a huge Swiftie. Oh my God, wait, Gypsy Rose can't go anymore because her parole officer said that she's not allowed and she has to leave the state immediately, which caused so much even more media frenzy because, you know, Swifties and the Chiefs and Gypsy Rose, oh my God, how is it all connected? Somehow like 2023 is the weirdest year of our lives. And that is so wild that that makes news. That your parole officer is like, you have to leave the state. and now it's all over the internet. That's wild. So her life, literally from the first day leaving prison, nothing was normal. Nothing was ever normal. And I personally don't believe that her life will ever be normal again, which is something that her family has also said in the documentary. They don't think that her life will ever be normal after release. It just won't be. And it was never normal before. It's sad. But anyway, this brought in a lot of media attention where people were making memes of her. People were catching her out in public, shopping with her husband, Ryan Anderson, for shoes. Oh my God, Gypsy Rose posted a selfie. Oh my God, Gypsy Rose is just like us. Gypsy Rose has a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper in the background. Gypsy Rose has the new iPhone 15. Gypsy Rose is buying Skechers. Like, I just don't think that we've seen anything like that before. So it was like a field day for everyone online. People were making memes, people were making jokes, myself included, because I was like, this is funny. And now, about 2 weeks after her release, I see more and more comments of people being like, why are we glamorizing a killer? Why did we suddenly make someone who killed their mother an internet celebrity? Why is she an influencer? Why is she rich? Why does she get to go on The View? Why does she get to go on podcasts? Why is Gypsy Rose getting rich from killing her mom? And that seems to be a very popular opinion that people are now having. In a sense, I do think that Gypsy Rose has fallen into the influencer pipeline. You know, sometimes we see like celebrity to influencer pipelines or like the comedian to influencer pipelines. Now we're going to like a criminal to influencer pipeline. But anyway, when you really think about it, Gypsy Rose and her team and whoever is working behind the scenes of putting out these documentaries about her, her book, her story, they in a sense followed a similar pattern that influencers do. Her relationship is public. So much so that Gypsy Rose and her husband, Ryan Anderson, went onto the Vile Files podcast, which is run by an ex-Bachelor member, which is crazy enough, really to mainly talk about relationships. That was one of the first media things that she did out of prison, sorry.
Like Hellfire.
Oh, so fire. So fire.
And did you come and get it?
I did.
Yes, she did. She did.
There's many documentaries about her life, but in the Lifetime one, we get an inside look at her relationship. How did her and Ryan Anderson meet? Ryan Anderson himself had a parasocial relationship when getting to know Gypsy Rose, because the way that he got to know her from his side was watching Mommy Dead and Dearest. In 2020, Tiger King was absolutely blowing up. And a friend of his had said, I want to send a letter to Tiger King in jail. And Ryan said, well, if you write to Tiger King, I'm going to write a letter to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She's cute. I'm not going to sit here and judge a relationship that I am not in and I do not know about with two consenting adults. Based off of the interviews that we have seen of Ryan Anderson so far, and based off of his interactions with Gypsy and her family, do I really, really want it to work out? And do I really want her to be safe and happy and loved in this relationship? More than anything. Absolutely. Am I slightly worried? Duh. But it seems like that's kind of like the general consensus here. They started writing back and forth while Gypsy was in prison. They only got to see each other in person about 7 times before they were legally married. And leading up to those weeks of them getting married in prison, Gypsy Rose actually had an ex-boyfriend named Ken. She had a few boyfriends in jail because the girlie was getting letters written to her. Ken was a previous fiance of hers, and he had broken up with her prior to the wedding because he did not like all of the fame and social media attention that he was getting because he was dating Gypsy Rose, which I don't want to call anyone naive or stupid. But you were dating Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who has a whole fucking Hulu show about her. Like, there is no way that you're going to like be a fly on the wall and no one's going to notice you if you're engaged to Gypsy Rose, okay? However, they broke up. Gypsy Rose was absolutely heartbroken because in her head, she has said this, that everyone who she really cares about and loves leaves her. And a few weeks prior to Gypsy and Ryan actually getting married, Ken had reached out and her and Gypsy had spoken. She confided in Ryan that she had a dream about Ken and left Ryan for Ken, and this caused a huge strain in their relationship. Even after her and Ryan had made it official, got married and everything, they had even considered getting an annulment, something that Gypsy Rose's stepmother, Christy, had actually recommended that they do. On the Lifetime show, Ryan Anderson even comes and meets Christy and Mia Blanchard, which is Gypsy Rose's stepmother and half-sister, to try to get to know them better. And even the stepmother and the sister had similar concerns that a lot of people, I don't know, fans, I don't know, viewers are having. What are his intentions? Why does he want to be with Gypsy? And one of Ryan's own concerns is she going to leave me for other men? Because she's been confined in jail for like 8 years. Now she's a superstar and has men writing to her all the time. Like, Would she leave me? So much so that Josh Cedar of The Bachelor was emailing Gypsy and telling the world that they're on speaking terms and that they are talking while Gypsy was married. And that already is like, okay, yes, this is evidence Gypsy is kind of an influencer. For people to feel like they can use you for fame and to kind of like boost their engagement, getting in the news, her relationship being displayed online and on TV. Yeah, babes, that's influencer status. And even on this podcast, Vile Files, her and Ryan sat down and talked about their relationship, some issues that they had in the past. They're even giving relationship advice. They even talk about the famous tweet. I printed it out, which is so crazy that a CBS employee had to read this. A little old lady who gave me all my printed posters this morning handed this to me. Said, oh, I printed it out just this morning, just for you. And she had to, did she read this? I don't know. Maybe, but I'll read it for you. You probably already heard it, but this is a comment that Gypsy Rose left on a photo of Ryan Anderson because he's been getting a lot of hate. Ryan, don't listen to the haters. I love you and you love me. We do not owe anyone anything. Our family is who matters. If you get likes and good comments, great. If you get hate, then whatever, because they don't matter. I love you. Besides, they jealous because you are rocking my world every night. Yeah, I said it. The D is fire. Happy wife. Happy life. Wow. The internet took that and ran with it, obviously. Gypsy has become a meme within like a few days of her leaving prison. Oh my God. There's this very famous video now going around of Amanda Hirsch talking to her and making it like a soundbite of her being like, the D is fire.
You guys, I'm here with Gypsy Rose herself, the celeb of the moment. What do you have to say to the haters?
Well, you know, can't bring me down. I'm on a high right now. I'm living my best life, and y'all can't take that from me.
And the D is
Fire!
Even the way that the podcast hosts of the Vile Files were talking about Gypsy and Ryan before they came on were like, oh my God, we're so excited. Like, we're gonna get so many more viewers because of this. Oh my God, I think we're like kind of friends now. It does make you ask the question, what are people's intentions by using her for these sound bites, having her on for interviews? Do they actually care about Gypsy Rose getting to spread her message in which she's talked about wanting to raise more awareness about Munchausen by proxy? Are people hoping to get an interview with her, to get a quick sound bite out of her, boost engagement, use her in some sort of way? I think we all know the answer to that, but at the end of the day, Gypsy Rose is a 32-year-old woman who can make her own decisions. Which brings me into my next point. Wow, there is a lot of infantilization of Gypsy Rose. And the thing is that I can understand why people are doing this, but I do think that we should not do this. Gypsy has even expressed to herself that the biggest misconception about her is that she's still the little girl that went to jail 8 years ago, or the little girl that they saw videos of and photos of when she was younger. Gypsy Rose was made to believe that she was a lot younger than she actually was, and was infantilized as a child. Up until she was like 23, 24 years old, she was infantilized. Couldn't make her own decisions, told that her brain isn't developed properly, that she doesn't have any real world experiences, that she needs to be watched over. Now, the coincidence of me saying all those things is that those are comments that her mother had made when her mother was still alive and she was suffering with Munchausen by proxy. And those are comments that people are still making today. Her brain isn't developed. She has missed out on very important years of her life. She cannot make decisions on her own. She should have a caretaker or someone watching over her to help her make these decisions. At the end of the day, Gypsy Rose is a 32-year-old woman who I personally like to believe, in my personal little opinion, I do think that she has made a lot of growth in the last 8 years in prison. I do not think that she is the same person that she was 8 years ago when she did what she did. Now, do I know her personally, and can I like confidently say that? No, obviously, I don't know her. But do I think we're also not giving a lot of credit to Gypsy Rose that she is a grown woman who can make her own decisions, her own career choices, choose who she decides to associate with, decide if she wants to get married, decide where she wants to live, decide who she wants to be with, decide who she wants to be friends with, decide what kind of business ventures to take on. I do think that she deserves that right, just like the rest of us, especially because she got that taken away from her for so many years. And also seeing a lot of infantilization of Nick Godejohn. I don't have a photo of him up here because this is to help me storytell, okay? Not a fucking shrine. I've recently been seeing a lot of people also really infantilizing Nick Godejohn. And this is why I really encourage people to actually look into the case of all the things that Nick Godejohn had actually done, what he had done to Gypsy, the things that he said that he wanted to do. I think that's very important. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of posts of people being like, Gypsy Rose got out after 8 years and she's a free woman. Meanwhile, her ex-boyfriend is rotting in jail for the rest of his life. She took advantage of a mentally ill person. And that's this kind of like debate right now. Is Gypsy Rose deserving of the rights like everyone else, even though she's 32 years old? Is she this small, tiny, little young woman? Or is she a master manipulator? That's a big thing. Lots and lots and lots of people have been saying that Gypsy Rose is a master manipulator and a liar since she was younger. That Gypsy Rose has manipulated everyone and that she was taught to lie and manipulate since she was a young kid, having to lie and manipulate to doctors that she was actually ill. And that deep down, Gypsy is probably still a liar and a manipulator. And that we should feel sorry for Nick Godejohn because she took advantage of him and she will do it again. I think this is highly fucked up. I think we're missing the big picture of what Munchausen by proxy is and how severely manipulated she was by her mother. I don't think people realize that when you're a child and when you are lying and manipulating, you're not even realizing that you're doing it. You're doing it to make your mom happy and your mom proud because you are in this situation. Your mom is telling you that you have to do these things or else you get drugged or beat or etc. etc. As a child, Gypsy was not out here as some like master manipulator who knew what she was doing and the benefits that her and her mom were reaping because of the lies that she was taught to spill. She was quite literally groomed into giving those answers and responses, which we will get into, Natalia Grace, very soon. Best believe. I think that's why I'm kind of confused about this recent belief that Gypsy is this master manipulator since she was a child and that somehow children are now able to be evil, when instead we are not looking at the root cause and problem of all that, which was her mother. And a lot of comments online are also saying that they're hoping that Nick's case gets reopened because he deserves to be free just like Gypsy does now. And I just find it really interesting that ever since Gypsy has been free, there is this new kind of commentary that Nick Godejohn deserves to be free now, or he deserves his case to be reopened, or that Gypsy is this master manipulator who manipulated him just like her mother manipulated her. I think in the next few years, we're gonna see an increase of people who have committed crimes being kind of like influencer status, like, oh my God, slay, like, go girl. I saw this post that Mia Goth had apparently kicked someone on set of Maxine and is now getting sued because she was like belittling them and berating them after quite literally like assaulting them. Mind you, there's not much information about it as of right now. But like all the comments were like, slay queen, yes, you go girl. And she took the pearl role real seriously. I think this is like the girl bossification of criminals, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it. Think of George Santos even. Here are the crimes George Santos has been charged with: conspiracy to commit offenses against the U.S., wire fraud, false statements, falsification of record or document, aggravated identity theft, access device fraud, unlawful monetary transactions over $10,000, theft of public money. What happens after George Santos loses his position? He gets put on Z-Way. And it's like, oh my God, yes, George Santos on Z-Way. Yes, can't wait. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love Z-Way. But like, are we going to put Bill Clinton on Z-Way as well? Is Bill Clinton going to go on Just Trish? Quickly, I need to know. What criminals are we doing interviews with and what criminals are we like, okay, this is off limits? Because clearly we're not like, oh yeah, murder is where we draw the line. We are not gonna, be putting murderers or assisting with murderers on a platform. We're not going to do that because it's happening. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So I'm curious to know who the next person is going to be. Because Gypsy has even went on The View and was like, I made a mistake. I literally regret what I did. And Joy was like, no, don't say that. You didn't have any other choice. You did what you did. Don't say that. You didn't do anything wrong. And she was like, I did. I murdered somebody. I did.
I did it the wrong way.
No. Don't say that.
I did. I did something wrong, and I paid my dues for it.
Oh, you mean that part?
Yes, the part of it.
Yeah.
That part of it. Yeah.
Where are you going with this?
So now people are like, okay, what do we do with Gypsy? Do we leave her alone? That's a common thing, like leave Gypsy alone. But does Gypsy want to be left alone? Gypsy has talked about how she wants her story to be told. And I really agree with that. I think that if anybody should be telling her story and capitalizing off of it, I think it should be her. Because when the act came out on Hulu with Joey King, she didn't make any money off of that. None of the money off that story. She had no part in that, and she hasn't even watched it because she said that she already lived through that. She doesn't need to relive that at all. Joey King wants to speak to Gypsy and meet her and get to know her. However, Gypsy was making nothing off of a whole show that was based on her life. But then you look at the flip side and you're like, oh, well, it kind of did good for Gypsy. It kind of changed the public perception of Gypsy and like made people feel sorry for her. I am always going to be for victims being able to tell their own stories. I love that Jeanette McCurdy was able to write her book. I'm glad my mom died. I'm happy that the words were able to come out of her mouth and she was able to tell her story the way that she wanted to and the way that she was comfortable with. And I'm happy that Gypsy is in a place that she's comfortable talking about what happened to her and wants to prevent that from happening to other people, and especially preventing from other kids doing something really awful like killing their parents. Because she's talked about how there are other options and she really, really regrets what she did. So do we leave Gypsy alone or do we not leave Gypsy alone? Is Gypsy being forced to perform in the same way that Gypsy was forced to perform as a child for her mom? Is Gypsy's naivety, is Gypsy's naivety being exploited? And to that, I think yes, by certain people. In my personal opinion, after watching the show, obviously, I don't know this because I don't know these people. I do think that she has a great group of people around her. Her stepmom, her sister, her dad, who is hot, okay? Love his accent. Absolutely fucking love it. Literally, there was like subreddits about it. Like, is her dad Irish? Like, what is that accent? It's Cajun. He's so hot. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It's not appropriate, Nicole. The way that Gypsy talks about having a support system like them in her life has been great. I'm so happy that they are now more actively in her life and have taken her in after not really even knowing her for so many years because of the way that her mom had kept her away. It's amazing in the way that they have been a support to her. And I wish that every single person who gets out of prison would have similar support like Gypsy is having right now. Gypsy has also talked about how Ryan is amazing support for her. And I'm happy about that. If she feels supported by him and that he is there for her to lean on, then I'm very happy about that because I feel like these next few years of her life are going to be very difficult being in the public eye, having to deal with the public perception of you, having to deal with the internet's perception of you, and also having to go out in public and live your normal everyday life where you're not really protected by being in prison and how people are going to react to you. However, I wish that we would keep the same energy for other people in prison and jail. The same energy that we are keeping for Gypsy and the support and love that everyone has for her. I wish others had gotten that as well. A court in Mexico State said that while it agreed 23-year-old Roxana Ruiz was raped in 2021, it found her guilty of homicide with excessive use of legitimate defense. It also ordered Ruiz to pay more than $16,000 in reparations to the family of her attacker. People of color and marginalized groups who are already at risk of suffering more severe sentences than people like Gypsy Rose, and by people like Gypsy Rose, I mean white women. I think it is so important that we keep the same energy and support that we are showing Gypsy to other people, especially marginalized and people of color. I understand that Gypsy's situation is very unique and that she was able to be let out 2 years earlier. She's on parole now, but it was on good behavior. But I think part of the reason why she's able to have such public support as she has now, the money that she's been able to earn with all of her book deals, her show deals, documentaries, interviews, etc., is because of the parasocial way that we have exploited her. We have had so much information about Gypsy Rose over the last 8 years. And there are so many people who are not as lucky as her to, get a documentary, get a Hulu show, get a book deal, get an interview, have a supportive family. And they may have been in similar home situations that she was in the past, but are not going to have the same outcome that she has now. And that's another reason why I just don't think that as many people care about Gypsy's story or what she really went through, but instead the sensationalness of it all, the Hulu show, how exciting it is to know all these little details of her traumatic past. What is Gypsy gonna do next? Oh my God, is Gypsy gonna say something problematic or do something problematic soon? I've been seeing that a lot recently. People are just waiting for the moment that she does something wrong. Not to promote myself, but I did make a whole video about true crime fans, and I do think it's important that we look inward into ourselves and ask ourselves, why are we consuming this kind of content? Why are we supporting people who are exploiting the stories of others for their own fame? Why is one person's trauma my entertainment? And why do I not keep that same energy for other people who have gone through very similar things just because they're not a white woman? I put Natalia Grace on my wall because I think that her story needs to be heard by so many more people. My routine every day after high school was to come home, I would get 2 large scoops of vanilla ice cream and peanut butter and then mix it all together, and I would sit down on the couch and I would turn on Dr. Phil and TMZ and I would fall asleep on the couch every single day, just like that. And so I consumed a lot of Dr. Phil in that time, okay? I knew about Natalia Grace many years ago. Highly recommend that you check out her documentary, which is called Natalia Speaks. Natalia Grace has a rare form of dwarfism, and she was born in 2003 in Ukraine. She was then adopted in 2009 by an American family and basically tried to convince everyone around them that she's essentially a 22-year-old that looks like a little girl and that she is lying about everything. That she has pubic hair, her period, she's a sexual deviant, she tried killing her parents, she hears voices, she's crazy, she needs to be sent away. All because they wanted to adopt a disabled child and turn them into like a prodigy and make themselves look like better parents than they actually were. And so what did they do with the 9-year-old? Sent her to a psychiatric unit, was told that there was nothing wrong with her while she was in the psychiatric unit, got her re-aged to 22, 13 years older than she actually was, dropped her off at an apartment by herself to live there on her own with no accommodations and to fend for herself, and completely neglected her. And later on, Natalia would talk about how severely they had abused her while she had lived in this home with this family. It's such a heartbreaking story, and it's crazy that it's actually kind of similar to Gypsy's story, but in the reverse. Gypsy was told that she was actually much younger than she was, and Natalia was told that she was 13 years older than she was. They were both told these scripts that they had to say to other people. Natalia was forced to introduce herself as like, yes, I know that I look that I'm very young, but I'm actually 22 years old and I try to kill my family. That is something that she was groomed by her family to say. Gypsy was taught to reiterate over and over again that she is sick and to act the part of that. Both very abused and neglected by their families, and then to then go on, rehabilitate, and try to get better and now have a supportive system around them. While Natalia does have her own documentary, I think that she should be getting a lot more attention because I do think that she needs legal help with getting her re-aged again. Her adoptive parents have not faced legal repercussions for this all. They have gotten away like scot-free. I see a similar thing happening to her on TikTok and Instagram, not to the greatest extent like Gypsy. If you go on any of Natalia's TikTok videos or Instagram posts, the comments are so extremely parasocial. People also speculating on whether or not she's this master manipulator as a child, whether she really is the age that she says that she is. Was she really born in 2003, or is she an old woman pretending to be young? And both of these women have unfortunately been perceived as little girls who have manipulative and scary and evil tendencies within them, and that the men around them are innocent. Highly, highly recommend that you watch the documentary about Natalia, but you're gonna absolutely hate her adoptive father. Like, I wanted to throw my computer screen. Like, I was sitting there watching it, I was like, I was shaking my head back and forth. Anyway, I am all for prison reform. I am all for people rehabilitating and to change themselves and to become out of prison and be better people, be good neighbors to one another, and to be able to re-enter society as better people, learning from their mistakes. And in my personal opinion, I think Gypsy has taken the time to do that and has shown the honesty and vulnerability and the work that she has put in to be that better person now. And I think we should show that kind of empathy and compassion for other people in similar situations, because I sure fucking hope that if I was in a situation like Gypsy, that people would have that kind of compassion and empathy for me. When we hear about situations like this, we always think that we're so above it until we're dealing with our very own personal, horrible, heartbreaking situations that people can judge us for either way. I know this video is all over the place, but I really want to get all my thoughts out there. I know this isn't a chronically online girl timeline, like straight through me explaining everything, but I love doing this format and I love talking to you guys. And this was something that I really wanted to talk about. So leave your comments down below how you guys like this. If you guys want me to talk about any other subjects, because the chronically online girl videos are not going anywhere. If you like this video, please make sure that you leave it a like because it helps me out so much. Also, leave a comment if I missed anything, your thoughts on this all. Make sure you subscribe if you want to be nasty, if not you're disgusting. Also, make sure every bell notifications on so you know every single time I post, or else you are gross. If you want to follow me on my other social media, Instagram, Twitter, Depop, Spotify, it's just at Nicole Rafiee. And if you want to follow me on my TikTok, it's at Nikki Nasty. I have merch and I have a podcast every other Monday. Thank you so much for all the love and support recently. I literally can't take it. My heart is like growing so big that it's gonna explode out of my chest. Like, I'm so extremely grateful for everyone, so thank you very much. I'm gonna go now and rip this off my wall immediately, because like Jacob Elordi I can keep on my wall for a few days, like Barry Keoghan, like I'll keep it up, all right? Gypsy Rose, I'm so sorry, but you are coming down now, okay? Goodbye.